The fluorescent lights of the Ventreschi fertility clinic hummed like dying insects. Isadora Lane pushed her cleaning cart down the marble hallway, her reflection fractured across polished surfaces she'd never be able to afford to walk on as anything but hired help. It was 4 in the morning. Her shift started when the city still slept, when the rich were safely tucked in their penthouses, dreaming dreams she couldn't imagine. She stopped at Suite 7. The door stood ajar. Strange. These rooms were always locked. "Hello?" Her voice echoed. No response. She pushed the cart inside. The room looked like something from a science fiction film. White leather chairs, screens embedded in walls, a glass table with folders arranged in perfect symmetry. She shouldn't be here, but the cleaning checklist clearly marked Suite 7 for deep cleaning tonight. Isadora grabbed her spray bottle and started on the windows. "Ms. Reeves?" A woman's voice cut through the silence. Isadora turned. A blonde woman in a tailored suit stood in the doorway, tablet in hand, eyes scanning Isadora's face with clinical precision. "You're late, but Dr. Ventreschi will see you anyway. Please sit." The woman gestured to one of the leather chairs. "There's been a mistake. I work for Heirs Cleaning Services, yes. We contracted you for the interview. Sit down, please. We're already behind schedule." Isadora's heart hammered. Interview. She glanced at her uniform, at the cart, at her chapped hands that smelled of bleach. This wasn't right, but the woman's expression allowed no argument. And Isadora had learned long ago that people like this didn't like to be corrected by people like her. She sat. The blonde woman tapped her tablet. "The security system experienced a blackout earlier. Some candidate files were mixed up, but you're here now, and that's what matters. Dr. Ventreschi wants to meet all potential participants tonight." "Participants in what?" Before the woman could answer, the door at the far end of the suite opened. A man entered, tall, silver-haired, wearing a black shirt that probably cost more than Isadora's rent. His face was carved from stone, handsome in that distant way rich men often were. Eyes like frozen lakes. Darius Ventreschi. Isadora had seen his face on magazine covers at the grocery store. Billionaire. Pharmaceutical empire. Recluse. He sat across from her, studying her with the intensity of someone examining bacteria under a microscope. "Ms. Reeves," he said. His voice was smooth, controlled. "Tell me, would you sell your child for money?" The question landed like a slap. Isadora's jaw tightened. She should correct him, tell him she wasn't whoever he thought she was. But something in his arrogance, in the way he assumed she'd answer whatever he asked, made her speak instead. "No amount of money," she said quietly, "could make me sell what belongs to life itself." His eyes flickered. Interest. Surprise. "Interesting answer," he murmured. And in that moment, Isadora Lane's life changed forever. Darius leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled beneath his chin. The woman with the tablet, his assistant, apparently named Caroline, stood frozen by the wall, clearly confused by the direction of the conversation. "Most people hesitate," Darius said. "They calculate. They weigh the hypothetical price. You didn't, because it's not hypothetical to me." Isadora met his gaze. "I raised my brother and sister after our mother died. I know what children cost, not in money, in everything else." "How old were you?" 19. "And now?" 27. He nodded slowly, as if filing away data. "You work nights?" 3 jobs, days too." She glanced at her cart. "Look, Mr. Ventreschi, I think there's been a mistake. I'm here to clean, not to. Do you want children of your own?" The question cut through her protest. Did she? Isadora had spent 8 years mothering siblings who weren't hers. The dream of nursing school seemed distant enough. A child? That felt like luxury, like something for people with stable homes and normal schedules. "Someday," she said carefully, "when I can give them a better life than I had. What if I could guarantee that life? Now, not someday. Nothing's guaranteed, Mr. Ventreschi. Especially not by rich men making promises at 4 in the morning." Caroline gasped. Actually gasped. But Darius smiled. A real smile, small and sharp, like he'd just discovered something rare. "You're direct. I appreciate that." He stood, pacing to the window that overlooked Houston's glittering skyline. "I'm offering 5 women an opportunity. $200 million invested in a project that will secure genetic legacy, scientific advancement, and financial freedom for participants. $40 million per woman. Lifetime security. Isadora's stomach turned. You're buying participation in a fertility program. Voluntary, contractual, legal. Legal doesn't mean right. No, he agreed, but it means protected. He turned to face her. You'd be financially independent. Your siblings would have every advantage. Education, healthcare, housing, everything you fought for would be handed to you. In exchange for what? A baby? In exchange for helping me continue something that was taken from me. His voice cracked, just barely. I lost my son 5 years ago. I won't lose the future. Silence filled the room like water rising. Isadora thought of Luke, 19 now, working double shifts at the warehouse because they couldn't afford his community college tuition. Marina, 15, wearing shoes 2 sizes too small because new ones weren't in the budget. The medical bills from their mother's final month still arrived like ghosts in the mail. $40 million. She could barely conceive of 40,000. I need time, she whispered. You have until morning. Darius nodded to Caroline. Prepare the contract, Ms. Reeves is candidate 5. And before Isadora could correct him again, before she could say, my name is Lane, not Reeves, the door closed behind them, leaving her alone with a choice that shouldn't exist. Isadora didn't sleep. How could she? She sat in the empty suite until dawn crept through the windows, turning Houston's skyline from black to gray to pale gold. Her phone buzzed twice. Luke texting about a leak in the apartment ceiling. Marina asking if they could afford the field trip fee. $30. A field trip cost $30, and Isadora had to calculate whether paying it meant skipping groceries for 2 days. $40 million. The number felt obscene, impossible, a trap disguised as salvation. At 6 o'clock, Caroline returned with a folder as thick as a Bible. The contract, she said simply, setting it on the glass table. Read it. You have 2 hours to decide. Isadora opened it. Legal language swam before her exhausted eyes. Artificial insemination, genetic screening, confidentiality clauses, financial disbursement schedules, custody agreements. The child would be hers legally, but Darius retained genetic rights and visitation privileges. Monitoring during pregnancy, medical protocols, surrender of privacy. Her hands trembled. The other candidates, Isadora said. Who are they? Caroline's expression remained neutral. Dr. Ventreschi selected 5 women who represent different forms of excellence, a model ranked in the world's top 10, an Olympic gold medalist, a molecular biologist with a Nobel nomination, an actress with 2 Academy Awards. She paused. And you. I don't fit that list. Apparently you do. Dr. Ventreschi was very specific. He said you possess something the others lack. What? He didn't say. But he rarely changes his mind. Isadora stared at the contract, at the number printed in bold, $40 million, at the clauses that would legally bind her to a man she'd met once, in the middle of the night, in a case of mistaken identity she still hadn't corrected. She should walk away. Run. This was insane. But Luke's text about the ceiling glowed on her phone screen. Marina's hopeful question about $30. The nursing school brochure she kept folded in her wallet. Application fee circled in red. $125 she didn't have. If I sign, Isadora said slowly. When does it start? Immediately. You'd move into Dr. Ventreschi's estate with the other candidates. Medical evaluations begin within 48 hours. Insemination procedures within 2 weeks, depending on cycle synchronization. First payment upon confirmed pregnancy, $10 million. Remaining $30 million upon successful birth. And if I'm not selected, if the procedure doesn't work, $2 million compensation for participation, plus confidentiality payment of $500,000. Even failure paid more than Isadora would earn in 20 lifetimes. She picked up the pen Caroline offered. It was heavy, made of something that felt like gold. Her signature looked small and childish on the line at the bottom of page 47. Welcome to the program, Ms. Reeves, Caroline said, taking the contract. It's Lane, Isadora whispered. My name is Isadora Lane. Caroline paused, consulting her tablet. Her face went pale. "Oh no," she breathed. "Oh no, you're not." The door opened. Darius stood there, reading something on his phone. He looked up, saw Isadora's signature on the contract Caroline held, and smiled. "Perfect," he said. "Bring the car around. Ms. Lane moves in today." The Ventreschi estate rose from the Houston landscape like a glass cathedral, all sharp angles and cold transparency. Isadora pressed her face against the car window as they drove through gates that opened automatically, past sculpted gardens she'd need GPS to navigate. The mansion itself seemed to float, cantilevered sections hovering over reflecting pools that mirrored the sky. She'd cleaned houses like this before, never lived in one. "Your suite is on the 3rd floor," Caroline said, her voice still tight with whatever error she'd discovered but apparently decided not to correct. "The other candidates are already settled. Dinner is at 7. Dr. Ventreschi expects everyone in attendance." The suite was larger than Isadora's entire apartment. Floor-to-ceiling windows, a bed that could fit 5 people, a bathroom with a tub carved from a single piece of marble. She stood in the center of the room, afraid to touch anything, still wearing her cleaning uniform, because these were the only clothes she owned that weren't threadbare. A knock. "Come in." The door opened. A woman entered, impossibly tall, impossibly beautiful, with cheekbones that could cut glass and eyes the color of a frozen sea. She wore a silk robe casually, like wealth was something she breathed. "You're the new one." Not a question. Her accent was European, maybe Swedish. "I'm Astrid, the model, in case you were wondering." "Isadora." Astrid's gaze traveled down Isadora's uniform, lingering on the name tag, the bleach stains. "You're very brave," she said, "coming here dressed like that." "I came from work." "Of course." Astrid smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Well, you should change before dinner. Darius is particular about presentation." She left, leaving behind the scent of expensive perfume and subtle condescension. Isadora opened the closet Caroline had mentioned. It was filled with clothes in her exact size, dresses, slacks, blouses, all with tags still attached. Thousands of dollars hanging like they were nothing. She chose the simplest option, a navy dress that didn't sparkle or cling. At 7, she found her way to the dining room. A table stretched for miles beneath a chandelier that looked like frozen lightning. 4 women were already seated, Astrid the model. Next to her, a black woman with an athlete's posture and a gold medal hanging openly around her neck, the Olympian. Across from them, a woman with sharp eyes and no makeup, 50s maybe, exuding intelligence, the scientist. And at the far end, someone Isadora recognized from magazine covers, an actress whose face sold everything from perfume to politics. They all stared when Isadora entered. "You're the 5th?" The actress spoke first. "No offense, honey, but you look like you should be serving dinner, not eating it." Laughter. Polite, vicious laughter. Isadora sat in the only empty chair. "No offense taken. I've served plenty of dinners. At least I know which fork to use." The laughter stopped. Darius entered then, impeccable in a dark suit. He took his seat at the head of the table and surveyed his collection of perfect women. "Welcome," he said, "to the future." And Isadora realized she was the only one who looked afraid. The dinner was theater. 7 courses prepared by a chef whose name Isadora didn't recognize, but apparently everyone else did. Wine that cost more per bottle than her monthly rent. Conversation that danced around the real reason they were all there, sitting at a billionaire's table, agreeing to bear his children for money. Darius played host with practiced ease. He asked the Olympian, Simone, about her training regimen, complimented the actress, Vanessa, on her recent film, discussed gene therapy advances with the scientist, Dr. Raina Chen, even engaged Astrid about Fashion Week in Milan. He didn't ask Isadora a single question. She ate quietly, aware of the staff moving like ghosts around the room's perimeter. A young woman refilling water glasses wouldn't meet anyone's eyes. A man clearing plates moved with the invisible efficiency of someone trained to not exist. Isadora recognized that posture. She'd perfected it herself. "Thank you," she said softly when the woman refilled her glass. The woman startled, almost dropping the pitcher. She nodded quickly and hurried away. "How quaint," Vanessa murmured. "She thanks the help." "They're doing their job," Simone said. Doesn't hurt to acknowledge it. It disrupts the flow, Vanessa countered. They're professionals. They don't need gratitude. They need tips. They need both, Isadora said. The table went quiet. She looked up, meeting Vanessa's surgically perfected face. They need both because they're people, not furniture. Spoken like someone who what? Isadora's voice stayed level. Who knows what it's like? Yes, I do. Darius set down his wine glass. The crystal rang softly against the table. Ms. Lane worked 3 jobs before joining this program. She raised her siblings alone from age 19. She understands value in ways most people never will. He looked directly at Isadora for the first time all evening. That's why she's here. The silence shifted, became heavier. I thought we were here because of genetics, Dr. Chen said carefully. Physical health, mental acuity, documented achievement. That was the criteria presented in my contract. Genetics are part of it, Darius agreed, but not all of it. I'm not interested in manufacturing robots. I want children who understand the full spectrum of human experience. Strength, yes. Intelligence, beauty, talent, all important. But also resilience, empathy, the kind of character you can't buy or breed in a laboratory. Astrid laughed, sharp and bitter. You're buying us, Darius. Let's not pretend this is about character. It's about $40 million and women desperate enough to agree. Are you desperate? He turned to her. You're worth $80 million yourself. You're here by choice. We're all here by choice, Vanessa said. Very expensive choices. Exactly. Darius stood. Tomorrow, medical evaluations begin. You'll meet Dr. Frost, our fertility specialist. This weekend, we'll begin the synchronization protocols. Any questions? Isadora raised her hand like she was back in school. What happens if we want to leave? Every head turned. The contract, I read it, but I'm asking what you would do. If one of us said right now, I made a mistake, I want out. Darius studied her. I'd let them go. With the money. No, the compensation requires completion. So we're trapped. No, Ms. Lane. You're committed. There's a difference. The medical wing of the mansion existed in a different reality. Everything was white, sterile, humming with machines that beeped and monitored and analyzed. Dr. Frost turned out to be a woman in her 60s with efficient hands and zero warmth. She treated the candidates like specimens, which Isadora supposed they were. Blood work, Dr. Frost announced, tying a tourniquet around Isadora's arm. We'll screen for everything. Genetic markers, hormone levels, any underlying conditions. You'll also undergo a complete physical, pelvic ultrasound, psychological evaluation, and nutritional assessment. Isadora watched her blood fill vial after vial, dark red, almost black in the fluorescent light. How many children has Dr. Ventreschi lost? She asked quietly. Dr. Frost's hands paused. 1. His son Marcus, car accident 5 years ago. The boy was 17. And Mrs. Ventreschi? There was no Mrs. Ventreschi. Marcus's mother died in childbirth. Darius raised him alone. Isadora absorbed this. So he's lost everyone, which is why this project matters to him. Next, the ultrasound. The days blurred into routine. Wake at 6. Breakfast together in awkward silence. Medical tests until noon. Afternoons free, though there was nothing to do in the mansion except exist in expensive emptiness. Evenings, Darius would join them for dinner, watching, evaluating, saying little. Isadora spent her free time exploring. She found the library, 2 stories of books Darius probably never read, the gym where Simone trained with frightening intensity, the music room where someone sometime had played piano. She found the staff quarters too, tucked in the east wing, small rooms that felt more like home than anywhere else in the mansion. Maria, the woman from that first dinner, worked in the kitchen. Late one afternoon, Isadora found her there, prepping vegetables. "Can I help?" Isadora asked. Maria looked up, startled. "You're a guest, miss. You shouldn't." "I've worked in kitchens before, and I'm going crazy up there with nothing to do." Slowly, Maria smiled. She handed Isadora a knife. "The carrots need dicing." They worked in comfortable silence until Maria spoke. "You're different from the others. I'm not supposed to be here. It was a mistake. Wrong person, wrong place, wrong everything. But you signed the contract anyway." Isadora's knife stilled. I signed it because my brother needs college tuition and my sister needs shoes that fit, and I'm tired of choosing between electricity and food. And now? Now I'm in a glass mansion with 4 women who hate me, about to have a billionaire's baby for money, and I can't even tell my family why. She laughed, but it came out broken. So yeah, everything's perfect. Maria put down her own knife. My daughter is about your age. She works 2 jobs too, barely makes rent. I told her about this program. They hired extra staff when the candidates arrived. And you know what she said? She said she'd rather struggle with dignity than sell her body for comfort. Is that what I did? I don't know, miss. Did you? The question hung in the air between them like smoke. Before Isadora could answer, Caroline appeared in the doorway. Ms. Lane, Dr. Ventreschi wants to see you. Now, Darius's office occupied the mansion's highest point, a glass cube suspended above everything. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a view of Houston that made the city look like a toy. He stood facing them, hands clasped behind his back, silhouetted against the sunset. Sit, he said without turning. Isadora sat in one of the leather chairs that probably cost more than her car. Am I in trouble? Should you be? He turned. His face was unreadable. Doctor, Frost says you've been asking questions about Marcus, about my late partner, about me. I was just curious. Yes, I know. He poured 2 glasses of something amber from a crystal decanter. Offered her one. Do you drink? Not really. Good. Neither did Marcus. He took a long sip of his own glass. He wanted to be a doctor, not for money or prestige. He genuinely cared about helping people. Do you know how rare that is in my world? Isadora held the glass without drinking. You must miss him terribly. Every day, Darius sat across from her. After Elena died giving birth to him, I became obsessed with control. I built an empire on controlling variables. Disease, mortality, pain. I believed if I could just control enough factors, I could prevent loss. He laughed bitterly. Then Marcus died in a car accident caused by a drunk driver running a red light. Random, uncontrollable. Everything I'd built meant nothing. So you created this program. So I tried to manufacture what I couldn't protect. He met her eyes. You think I'm playing God. I think you're a father who lost his son and hasn't figured out how to grieve. The words hung between them. Darius's jaw tightened. The psychological evaluation flagged you as potentially problematic. Too empathetic, too emotionally intelligent. Doctor, Frost recommended removing you from the program. Isadora's heart dropped. And I disagreed. You're the only one who's honest. Astrid is here because modeling careers end at 30 and she's 29. Simone's Olympic body is destroying itself and she knows her time is limited. Vanessa needs the money for a production company her ex-husband destroyed in their divorce. Dr. Chen wants funding for research no ethics board would ever approve. He leaned forward. You're the only one who signed that contract for someone other than yourself. That doesn't make me better. No, it makes you necessary. Because my son grew up in privilege and never forgot that other people didn't. He volunteered at free clinics, tutored kids in underserved schools, planned to work with Doctors Without Borders. I want children who understand what he understood, and you're the only one here who lives it. So I'm here to be, what? A conscience transplant for your future heirs? Darius smiled, sad and real. Maybe. That's not fair to me. No, it's not. He stood, walked back to the window. But life isn't fair, Ms. Lane. You know that better than most. Which is exactly why I should walk away from this. But you won't. How do you know? Because you already spent the money in your head. Tuition, rent, medical care, security. You've built a future on this foundation. And backing out now means watching that future collapse. He was right. God help her, he was right. The insemination procedures began on a Thursday that felt like any other day, except it wasn't. It was the day 5 women lay on medical tables in private rooms and allowed doctors to inject them with the genetic material of a man they barely knew, all in the name of money and science and whatever desperate reasons had brought them here. Isadora's room was cold. Dr. Frost worked with mechanical efficiency, explaining each step in a voice devoid of comfort. This may feel uncomfortable. Try to relax. The procedure takes approximately 15 minutes. Relax, as if that were possible. Afterward, They were told to rest. Stay horizontal for an hour. Let gravity work in their favor, as if pregnancy were something that could be negotiated with physics. Isadora lay in her suite, staring at the ceiling, feeling her body as a stranger. Somewhere inside her, maybe, possibly, a cluster of cells was deciding whether to become a person, a life worth $40 million. "You okay?" A voice at her door. Simone stood there in athletic wear, looking awkward. "Yeah, you?" "Feels weird, right? Like we just crossed a line we can't uncross." Isadora gestured to the chair by the window. Simone sat, all coiled muscle and nervous energy. "Can I ask you something?" Isadora said. "Why are you really here? You're an Olympic champion. You could do endorsements, coaching, speaking tours." Simone was quiet for a long moment. "My knees are shot. My back's worse. I've had 6 surgeries in 3 years. Every doctor says the same thing. Stop now or you'll be in a wheelchair by 40. But I don't know who I am if I'm not an athlete. This program," she gestured around the room, "it gives me an exit strategy, money to retire. A reason to stop that isn't failure. Having a baby isn't an exit strategy." "No, but $40 million is." They sat in silence, 2 women who'd sold their futures for different versions of the same reason. "Do you think it'll work?" Simone asked. "The procedure? I don't know. Part of me hopes it doesn't. But the other part?" Isadora touched her stomach. "The other part is already imagining what I'd do with the money, already planning, already spending what I don't have. That's the trap, isn't it?" Simone stood. "He got us the moment we signed. Whether it works or not, we're already changed." That night, all 5 women sat together in the library for the first time by choice rather than obligation. No Darius, no Caroline, no staff hovering in corners. Just 5 people who'd made the same incomprehensible decision. "We should make a pact," Vanessa said. She'd been drinking wine, her mask of perfection slipping. "Whatever happens, pregnancy, scandal, regret, we protect each other. Not Darius, not the program, each other." "Why would we do that?" Astrid asked. "We're competitors." "No," Dr. Chen said quietly. "We're accomplices. There's a difference." Isadora looked at each woman in turn. 4 strangers who shared her secret. "I'm in." One by one, they agreed. A conspiracy of mothers-to-be. But outside the library, in the shadows of the hallway, a security camera blinked red, recording everything. 3 weeks later, the results came in a plain white envelope delivered to each woman's room. Isadora held hers for a full 10 minutes before opening it. Her hands shook. Inside, a single sheet of paper with 2 words printed in cold clinical font, "Pregnancy confirmed." She sat on the edge of the bed, a life growing inside her. A cluster of cells that would become a person with Darius's DNA and her body, and a price tag of $40 million. She was going to be a mother. The thought should have brought joy. Instead, it brought terror. A knock. Caroline entered without waiting for permission. "Dr. Ventreschi wants to see everyone in the main sitting room, immediately." All 5 women gathered. 4 of them held identical envelopes. 4 confirmed pregnancies. Only Astrid sat with empty hands and hollow eyes. Darius stood by the fireplace, his expression carefully neutral. "Congratulations to Dr. Chen, Ms. Torres, Ms. Lane, and Ms. Johnson. Your first payments of $10 million will be transferred within 48 hours. Prenatal care begins tomorrow." "And me?" Astrid's voice cracked. "What about me?" "You'll receive the $2 million participation compensation as outlined in your contract. You're free to leave whenever you wish." "Free?" She laughed, bitter as poison. "I'm 29 years old. My career is ending. I did this because I needed security, and now I get nothing." $2 million isn't nothing," Darius said. "It's scraps. You know what $40 million could have bought me? A future, a life beyond my face. And now I'm just the one who failed." She stood, threw the envelope at Darius's feet, and walked out. The door slammed behind her like a gunshot. The remaining 4 women sat in crushing silence. "This feels wrong," Simone said. "She shouldn't be punished for biology." "She's not being punished," Darius replied. "She's being released from an obligation she can't fulfill." "You're releasing her with shame," Dr. Chen said. "And we all know it." Darius's composure cracked just slightly. This program was designed with clear parameters. Everyone knew the terms. The terms are cruel, Isadora heard herself say. She went through everything we did. The procedures, the violations of privacy, the surrender of autonomy. And because her body didn't respond the way you wanted, she's disposable. Ms. Lane, no, I'm right and you know it. Isadora stood. You're not manufacturing perfect children, Mr. Ventreschi. You're manufacturing perfect circumstances for your ego. And when something doesn't fit your design, you discard it. The room held its breath. Darius walked to the window, hands clenched behind his back. You signed a contract. I know. You took the money. Not yet. The first payment hasn't cleared. He turned. Are you threatening to back out? I'm saying I see you clearly now. You're not a grieving father trying to honor his son. You're a man trying to buy back control, and we're not mothers-to-be. We're inventory. If that's what you believe, you can leave too. No, Isadora said. I can't. Because unlike Astrid, I don't have 2 million to fall back on. I have a family depending on me. So I'll stay. I'll have your baby. But I won't pretend this is anything other than what it is. And what is it? Exploitation wrapped in expensive paper. The mansion changed after that night. Astrid left without saying goodbye, escorted by security as if she were a threat. The remaining women moved through their days like ghosts haunting their own lives. Prenatal appointments, nutritional plans, monitoring schedules that tracked every aspect of their changing bodies. Isadora's stomach stayed flat, but inside, cells divided and multiplied, building a person she couldn't yet imagine. She talked to the baby sometimes, late at night when she couldn't sleep, whispered apologies for the circumstances of its creation, promised it love, even if everything else about this was broken. The money arrived. $10 million. The number looked surreal on the bank statement Caroline provided. Isadora sat staring at it for hours. She transferred funds to Luke immediately, enough for tuition, housing, books, everything he needed for 4 years. Sent money to Marina's school account for field trips and new shoes and all the tiny dignities poverty had denied her. Paid off their mother's medical debt. Set up a trust fund for emergencies and still had 9 million left. She'd never felt so rich and so poor at the same time. You should celebrate, Vanessa said one afternoon. They were in the library, the space that had become their unofficial refuge. You're a millionaire now. I sold my body for money. That's not something to celebrate. We all did. At least be honest about it. Vanessa closed her book. I needed this money to fund a film that will define my career. Simone needed it to retire with dignity. Chen needed it for research. You needed it for family. Our reasons don't matter to anyone but us. They should matter to Darius. Darius cares about one thing, replacing what he lost. We're means to an end. That's a horrible way to bring children into the world. Vanessa shrugged. Most children are accidents or obligations or attempts to save dying relationships. At least these kids will be wanted, planned, provided for. Wanted by who? A man who's trying to recreate his dead son? That's not love. That's grief in disguise. Before Vanessa could respond, Caroline rushed in, face pale. Turn on the television. Channel 7, now. Dr. Chen grabbed the remote. The screen flashed to life, showing a news anchor with perfect hair and urgent eyes. Breaking news tonight. An explosive investigation into billionaire Darius Ventreschi and what sources are calling a baby-buying scheme. According to documents leaked to this station, Ventreschi has been running an illegal fertility program. Illegal? Simone breathed. Paying women $40 million each to bear his children through artificial insemination. 5 women were reportedly involved, with 4 currently pregnant. Legal experts say this violates multiple federal and state laws regarding surrogacy, genetic experimentation, and human trafficking. Human trafficking? Isadora's voice came out strangled. The anchor continued. Ventreschi's attorney released a statement denying all allegations and claiming the women participated willingly under legal contract. However, ethics boards and women's rights organizations are calling for an immediate investigation. The screen switched to protesters outside the mansion gates. Signs reading, "Women are not merchandise and stop buying babies" filled the frame. Isadora felt the room tilt. Darius appeared in the doorway, Caroline behind him. His face was stone. "Pack your things, all of you. You're being moved to a secure location until this passes." Until this passes. Dr. Chen stood. Darius, they're calling this human trafficking. It's not. You signed contracts. Everything was legal. Was it? Isadora found her voice. Because that news report says otherwise. The media doesn't determine legality. Courts do. And what do we do while courts decide whether we're victims or criminals? Simone demanded. Darius's jaw tightened. You do nothing. Say nothing. My legal team will handle everything. Your legal team, Vanessa repeated. Not ours. You're protected under the contract's confidentiality clause. The contract that might be illegal? Isadora moved toward him. You promised us security, protection. Now there are protesters outside calling us prostitutes and you want us to hide. I want you safe. There's a difference. No, Mr. Ventreschi, you want us silent. Because if we talk, if we tell our stories, your entire empire crumbles. His eyes flashed. Is that a threat? It's the truth. Outside, car horns blared, voices chanted. The world was closing in. And inside her, a life kept growing. They were moved in the dead of night to a property in the Texas Hill Country, another mansion, smaller but equally isolated. Armed security patrolled the perimeter. No phones, no internet, no contact with the outside world. Protective custody that felt like imprisonment. Days passed, then weeks. The women existed in limbo, their pregnancies progressing while the scandal consumed the media. Caroline provided carefully curated updates, legal proceedings, public opinion polls, expert commentary. Everything was noise. Nothing was resolution. Isadora's body changed. A small curve appeared where flatness had been. Morning sickness hit hard. She'd throw up in the bathroom while news helicopters circled overhead, trying to photograph evidence of the scandal through bulletproof windows. We need to make a decision, Dr. Chen said one evening. They'd gathered in the kitchen, the only space that felt remotely normal. Darius's lawyers want us to testify that we entered this program willingly, that we're not victims. But we are victims, Simone said. Maybe not in the way the protesters think, but we were manipulated, exploited. We took the money, Vanessa countered. That complicates the victim narrative. Does it? Isadora sat at the table, hand on her stomach. I took the money because I was desperate. Because the system failed me so completely that selling my reproductive rights felt like the only option. How is that not victimhood? Because you had a choice, Vanessa said. Did I? Really? Isadora's voice rose. When the choice is between poverty and exploitation, that's not freedom. That's coercion. Silence. Dr. Chen spoke carefully. If we testify for Darius, we protect the money. The contracts hold up, we get the 40 million. Our children are legally ours. And if we don't, Simone asked, the contracts get voided. We lose everything, including potentially our parental rights if the courts decide the pregnancies resulted from an illegal agreement. The room went cold. He can't take our children, Isadora whispered. They're inside us, our bodies, our lives. The law doesn't always see it that way, Dr. Chen said. If the program is ruled illegal, the genetic material could be considered stolen property. Darius could claim parental rights supersede ours because the pregnancies violated surrogacy laws. That's insane. That's reality. Isadora stood, walked to the window. Outside, security lights illuminated the property like a prison yard. So we have two choices: lie for Darius and keep our money but lose our dignity, or tell the truth and lose everything. There's a third option, Vanessa said quietly. We go public ourselves. Tell our stories before the courts decide for us. Control the narrative. Darius would destroy us, Simone said. He's already destroying us. At least this way we fight back. Isadora turned to face them. If we do this, we need to be united. All four of us. One story, one truth. And what is the truth? Dr. Chen asked. That we're not perfect victims or willing participants. We're women who made impossible choices in a system designed to exploit desperation. And Darius Ventreschi used his wealth to prey on that. He'll call us liars, Vanessa said. Let him. We have the contracts, the medical records, the paper trail. Most importantly, we have each other. 4 women, 4 pregnancies, 4 voices ready to shatter the silence. I'm in, Simone said. Me too, Dr. Chen agreed. Vanessa hesitated, then nodded. Okay, let's burn it all down. They planned it carefully. Caroline, conflicted by loyalty to Darius and growing horror at what the program had become, secretly helped them. She arranged contact with a journalist named Rebecca Moss, known for exposing corporate corruption and abuse. The meeting happened in the mansion's library, with Caroline standing guard. Rebecca listened to everything. 4 hours of testimony, contracts laid bare, medical records, financial transfers. The calculated way Darius had structured everything to be technically legal while morally bankrupt. "He's going to sue you," Rebecca said finally. "All of you. He'll claim defamation, breach of contract, conspiracy." "Let him," Isadora said. "We're not lying." "No, but truth isn't always enough. You'll need protection, legal representation, resources. We have $10 million each," Dr. Chen said. "That buys plenty of lawyers. It also makes your motives questionable. Defense will argue you took the money and now want more by destroying his reputation." "Then we give it back," Isadora said suddenly. Everyone turned to stare at her. "All of it, every dollar. We give it back and tell the truth for free. That's how they'll know we're serious." "Isadora, no," Simone protested. "That money is our security. That money is our chain. As long as we have it, we're his. We're bought. We're compromised." She looked at each woman in turn. "My siblings will survive without it. I'll figure something out. But I can't look my child in the eye someday and explain that I stayed silent because I was paid to." Vanessa closed her eyes. $40 million. 40 million reasons to never tell the truth, Isadora said. Or one reason to finally be free. The decision took hours. Tears, arguments, calculations of what they'd lose and what they'd gain. But in the end, all four agreed. They'd return the money, tell their stories, face whatever came next. The article published on a Tuesday morning, front page of every major newspaper, top story on every news channel. 4 women, faces shown, names revealed, standing together in solidarity against a system that had tried to buy their silence. Breaking the contract, women expose billionaire's illegal baby program. The response was immediate and explosive. Public opinion shifted. What had been portrayed as gold-digging women scamming a grieving father became a story of exploitation and abuse of power. Protests that had targeted the women now targeted Darius. Criminal investigations were launched. Ethics boards convened. The pharmaceutical company's stock plummeted. Darius called an emergency press conference. Isadora watched from the secure location, hand on her growing belly, as the man who'd promised her everything tried to salvage his reputation. "These women are lying," he said, voice steady, face cold. "They entered this program willingly. They took millions of dollars. Now they want more, so they've fabricated a narrative of victimhood. That's not true." A voice from the back of the press room. Caroline stood, trembling but determined. "I was Dr. Ventresky's assistant. I facilitated this program, and everything they're saying is true." The cameras swung to her like predators catching scent. The contracts were designed to be legally ambiguous. The women were selected based on vulnerability. "Caroline, don't," Darius warned. "Ms. Lane wasn't even supposed to be in the program. She was a cleaning woman mistaken for a candidate, and you included her anyway because you found her poverty compelling. You exploited these women's desperation for your vanity project." The fallout was seismic. Criminal charges, civil suits, federal investigations. Darius Ventresky's empire crumbled over 3 months, reduced to legal battles and frozen assets. The fertility program was shut down. The clinic closed. Every doctor involved faced ethics reviews. The 4 women became unlikely symbols, flawed heroes in a story with no clean endings. They testified before Congress about the need for surrogacy regulation. They spoke at universities about exploitation and consent. They did interviews, wrote op-eds, stood together while the world debated whether they were victims or opportunists. Isadora refused the 40 million. So did the others. Instead, they negotiated a settlement, compensation for medical risks and trauma, legal protection, guaranteed parental rights. Enough to rebuild, not enough to be bought. The babies were born within weeks of each other. Isadora's daughter arrived on a November morning. 7 pounds of squalling life with Darius's dark eyes and Isadora's stubborn chin. She named her Elena, after the mother her daughter would never meet, the woman who died giving Darius his first child. Darius requested to see her when Elena was 3 months old. Isadora agreed, but on her terms. They met in a park, neutral ground, spring sunshine filtering through oak trees. He looked smaller somehow, older, broken in ways money couldn't fix. "She's beautiful," he said, watching Elena sleep in Isadora's arms. "She is. Thank you for letting me see her. I didn't do it for you. I did it for her. Every child deserves to know where they come from, even if the story is complicated." Darius sat on the bench beside her, careful to keep distance. "I was wrong. About everything. The program, the manipulation, thinking I could engineer away grief." He paused. "You were right. I wasn't honoring Marcus. I was trying to control death itself." "Yes. That's all you're going to say? Yes? What do you want, Mr. Ventreschi? Forgiveness? Absolution? I can't give you those." "I know." He watched Elena's tiny hand curl and uncurl. "Can I be part of her life?" "That depends." "On what?" "On whether you can be a father or just an owner. Because she's not your property. She's not your second chance. She's a person who deserves to be loved for herself, not as a monument to your dead son." "I understand." "Do you?" Because understanding intellectually and feeling it in your bones are different things. Darius was quiet for a long time. "Will you teach me the difference?" "That's not my job. But if you're willing to learn, if you're willing to show up consistently, humbly, without expecting anything in return, then yes, you can know her. But the moment you treat her like an experiment or an investment, we're done." "Fair enough." They sat in silence, watching Elena sleep. Around them, life continued. Joggers passing, children playing, the ordinary beauty of existence unfolding. 3 years later, Isadora graduated from nursing school. She works now at a nonprofit that fights reproductive exploitation, helping women navigate systems designed to use them. Simone coaches young athletes, teaching them their worth exists beyond medals. Dr. Chen leads a research lab focused on ethical medical practice. Vanessa produced a documentary about their story, which won awards and sparked policy changes. Darius sees Elena twice a month, supervised visits where he reads stories and plays quietly, and is learning slowly what fatherhood without ownership looks like. He sold most of his pharmaceutical holdings, placed assets and trusts for the children born from his failed experiment. He's still wealthy, but no longer powerful. And that, Isadora thinks, might be the best thing that ever happened to him. Luke graduated college. Marina got into a good university on scholarship. They visit often, bringing normalcy and laughter into Elena's life. The family Isadora built not with money but with sacrifice and love. Some nights, Isadora still thinks about that first moment in the clinic, the mistaken identity, the impossible offer, the choice that changed everything. She thinks about Astrid, who she tracks down and helps however she can. About the young woman in the kitchen who told her daughter to keep her dignity. Dignity, Isadora learned, isn't something you can buy or sell. It's what remains when everything else is stripped away. It's the courage to say no when the whole world is for sale. Elena wakes now, making small sounds. Isadora lifts her daughter, holds her close, breathes in the scent of baby shampoo and milk and future. "We made it," she whispers. "We made it through." And for the first time in years, Isadora Lane believes it.